I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 240, Architecture. This is on page 84 while doing risk training, and if you participate in the risk training, that is at your own risk. Architecture. Before we start reading, we had something to architecture. We know that in 1966 there was a great fire of London, and the big cathedral, the St. Paul's Cathedral, was destroyed and then rebuilt under the leading of Sir Christopher Wren. And over all this rebuilding of London, there was Samuel Pepys who wrote a diary about it, which is still read. We know that at the end of the medieval times there was change in architecture. For example, Lincoln Cathedral was built, and also Edinburgh Castle, Windsor Castle were built, and they are still there. And we know that, for example, in the York Minster, there are religious portraits, or religious portraits out of stained glass or something like that. Not portraits, religious illustrations. These are not illustrations, what are they? Religious. They are pictures made in stained glass. And I think that's what you have to architecture. Architecture. The architectural heritage of the UK is rich and varied. They want to use simple language, but we're using for the third or fourth time the same vocabulary to describe. There are more words to describe something as rich and varied. In the Middle Ages, great cathedrals and churches were built, many of which still stand today. Let's start at the beginning. The architectural heritage of the UK is rich and varied. We don't want to read it. We want to understand that some United Kingdom, there are many buildings as a heritage which still stand today. A lot of Britain was destroyed. We should remember that. It was written here in Coventry and in London and in East End and in other cities also. But there are still, a lot is still standing, which is from centuries in the past. From former centuries. So in the United Kingdom there are many buildings and houses which are centuries old, and they are as a heritage from the ancestors of the people living in Britain there, as heritage. And they are rich, so there are many of these houses, and they are varied. They are from different epochs, from different areas of time. So some were built at the end of the medieval, some were Renaissance. I don't know how much of it was in Britain, but at different time periods, and so they are different, and also in different areas. In the Middle Ages, great cathedrals and churches were built, many of which still stand today. So from 469 until 467 until 1495, they used, I think. 1485, they used 85, the Battle of Bosworth Field, the end of the War for Roses. 1485, there were many cathedrals and churches built. I don't know the difference between churches and cathedrals, I said, but when we have it, many of which still stand today. So one thing, for example, which is a part of a rich and varied heritage in architectural buildings for the UK are cathedrals and churches from medieval times. Examples are the cathedrals in Durham, Lincoln, Canterbury, and Salisbury. So examples of cathedrals are Durham. We had something to Durham somewhere. Then Lincoln, we have the Lincoln Cathedral. Then the Canterbury. We know about Canterbury, that there is the Archbishop of Canterbury. The first one was St. Augustine, coming from Rome. And that the Archbishop of Canterbury is most of the times appointed by the Prime Minister and bishops, but technically it's the monarch. And the Archbishop of Canterbury is the spiritual leader of the Church of England. And Salisbury, there's also a cathedral, which is important. The White Tower in the Tower of London is an example of a Norman castle keep built on the orders of William the Conqueror. See page 15102. Now we're going to look at page 15, and we're talking about the Norman conquest. And 1066, an invasion led by William, the Duke of Normandy, and what is now northern France, defeated Harold the Saxon, King of England, at the Battle of Hastings. Harold was killed in the battle. William became King of England and is known as William the Conqueror. The battle is commemorated in a great piece of embroidery known as the Bayeux Tapestry, which can still be seen in France today. And they're they're commanding us to go to the page 102. We're not going to do it. We're going to read the book from the beginning. If it's important, we're going to do it later. We're going to remember 101 just for fun, and 102. And we're going to go there and read it. So, the White Tower in the Tower of London. So the Tower of London, that's just one tower. It's a bit confusing maybe. This is basically a castle, and it has multiple towers. It's basically a block. Yes, it is a block. Is an example of Norman castle keep. Do we mean kept? So I don't think that keep is anything of... I know of some architecture terms, and there is something very similar to keep for how the roof is made. I don't think they mean keep is a term for architecture. They mean kept. The White Tower in the Tower of London is an example of Norman castle keep. Of Norman castle keep. Was a keep of a type of Norman castle. I think they made a type error here. I'm just wondering about that. Is it not read by thousands of people? And not read, but in detail learned? So I'm not only wondering for whom that is written, but also who is reading it. The White Tower in the Tower of London is an example of Norman castle keep built on the orders of William the Conqueror. Now we're going to do the whole restraining, and we're not going to have much time left, so I'm just going to say we're not going to do anything new anymore to architecture. Not more. If you have time after the restraining, we're going to repeat something. If you're here for architecture, then you can just go to the next part. And I don't think if you're actually here for architecture, you're really going to learn about architecture, but you're going to learn about the history of architecture, and with that we're learning the background of architecture. So if we're talking about architecture later, actually about architecture, we know what it means, we know what is talked about. We can feel it, and we have examples from the real life which we know of. So if you're for architecture, then go to the next part. If not, restraining at your own risk. We're warming on the lap, the hands next to us form the fist, and we're going down and up, and that is the spotlight. And we're having 3 rules. The rule number 1 is that we're stopping immediately as soon as we feel pain. The second rule is that we going only as fast as we can go with a little bit of effort. And the third rule is that we're not overdoing it. So it was the last time when we were up. Something similar. Again, hands form the fist next to us, and we're going to the inside. To the outside. And that is enough, because we have having something similar. Now we're going down and again up. That is the T-Rex in on. And the last time up. Now they're having the T-Rex in the gym. If you don't have a tennis ball, just do it without one. Pressing onto the tennis ball, or if you're making a strong fist. Releasing. And repressing again. Releasing. And repressing again. And pressing again. Now with the other hand, we've switched. And for a second time pressing. And releasing it. Make it a bit longer. And a third time. And now we're going on with the cautious big bang. We're placing the fingertips of one hand on top of the fingernails of the other hand. We're pressing a little. And now we're opening. And closing. Now we're it's time to switch the other hand on top with a little pressing and slowly opening and closing. And last time, opening and closing. Now we are doing, it's called the cycle exercise, the field daisies Nuacintias director. Hands next in front of us and front of us, and we are slowly opening and slowly closing. Again, we're opening slowly and we're closing again slowly. And last time, we're opening and closing. And the next exercise is similar. Flat hands next to us, and now we're making claws. And we're opening again. Making claws, press a little and hold it for 2-3 seconds. We're opening again. And another time. And now we're going to go for last time. And now the frog testing water temperature. Hands next to us, and bring the hands down with flat fingers. And again up with strong fists. And again down with flat fingers. And up with strong fists. Down the flat fingers. And up with strong fists. And last time. Down and flaring and up and strong. Next exercise, similar to the one before. And we're going down and we're bending at the knuckles. Holding it and we're going up again. Going down, bending at the knuckles, and again up. And again down, bending at the knuckles, and again up. And one last time. Going down, bending at the knuckles, and again up. And now we are bringing the arms in, making strong fists, bring the fists into flexion. Now we're making the arms long, bring the hands into extension and the flaying the fingers. And again in, strong fists and flexion, the arms in, and the arms out, hands into extension and flat fingers. And again in, strong fists, flex, and out, flat fingers. And one last round. In, out, the flat fingers, and that's it. And now, next exercise, we are bending again at the knuckles, just with one hand. And now we're pressing carefully on all these fingers. We're doing the same with the other hand. Bend at the knuckles and press on top of one. And another round. Press on top of one. And with the last hand, and the final exercise. So I said, the unfolding rocket boosters. Long arms, strong fists, fists to the inside and to the outside with flat fingers. And again, strong fists into the inside, long arms. You can even try to flex my biceps or something like that. If it works, with straight arms. And to the outside. So you don't have to overdo it with the flexion of any muscles, but the idea is that the muscles are flexed. But I don't know if it's possible to flex the biceps in this position. And to the outside. And then the finger. One last round to the inside. Strong fist. And to the outside. Fingers. A little shaking. And now with precise relaxation for the extensor digitorum muscle, which lies here. This one. I'm just going to hold it. And on the other side. And that's it. We're done with this training and we don't have time left. So thank you very much. And until the next time to Architecture Part 2.